My boyfriend has just broken up with me because of a story his friend made up about us taking a trip to Smashville before I met my boyfriend, and despite telling him the truth, he won't listen to me. My boyfriend and I have been dating for about 10 weeks now. When he officially asked me to be his girlfriend, we mutually agreed to take things slow. Now, after almost 3 months, we decided it was time to meet each other's closest friends. I know he has told his guy friends about me before, but it was always very vague, they just knew he was seeing someone. On Monday, my boyfriend and I were hanging out when I noticed he was being distant. For example, when I snuggled up to him, he wouldn't hug me back or show affection like he usually does. I thought he was just having a bad day, so I initiated intimacy, thinking it might lighten his mood. Afterward, I asked him if he was hungry and if he wanted to order food, to which he just shrugged and said, "Don't know, I don't really care." At that moment, I kind of snapped and told him he should just tell me if he wanted me to leave instead of treating me like that. He was silent for about 20 seconds and then asked me if I knew one of his guy friends, let's call him Alex. I told my boyfriend that I only know Alex from when he talks about his friends, but I hadn't known him before meeting my boyfriend. He asked me if I was sure, and I said I was 100% certain because I've never met Alex in my life. My boyfriend went silent again, then looked at me and said, "Fine," before starting to put on his shoes and jacket to leave. I asked him what was wrong and where he was going, and he just said, "I would have been fine with you hooking up with one of my friends before, but the lying is something I'm not putting up with. I'll go for a walk, and I want you to be gone when I'm back," before slamming the door in my face. I literally stood there in shock, questioning if it was some kind of sick prank. After about 3 minutes, when I realized he was actually gone, I called my best friend and told her about what had just happened. I was so confused that I couldn't even cry, I was just in shock. I eventually packed my stuff and left after my best friend told me it was probably best to give him time and space. My best friend picked me up at his place, and we drove straight to hers since she didn't want me to sleep alone that night. I texted him, "I just want to let you know that I have no idea what you were talking about earlier. I'm not lying, and I do not know Alex. I'm very confused right now, but I want to give you the time and space you might need right now. Please call me when you're ready to talk. I don't want to lose you over something like this. I love you." Then I turned off my phone so I wouldn't keep staring at it every 2 minutes, hoping he would reply. Obviously, I couldn't sleep that night, so I turned my phone back on around 3 a.m. and saw a lengthy text from him. In it, he mainly stated how disappointed he was and how much I had hurt him. He told me he wanted to talk the next day at his house. At around 4 p.m., my best friend drove me back to his house and waited in the car for me. My boyfriend was already waiting for me, and I wanted to hug him, but he asked me not to touch him. I broke down crying at that moment. I couldn't get a word out, and he tried to calm me down. He eventually started talking and told me he had been hanging out with 5 of his guy friends when he casually mentioned that we were official now and that he wanted me to join them the next time the other guys brought their girlfriends. They congratulated him, and some of them asked questions like how old I am, where we met, etc. Alex then asked my boyfriend to show him a picture of me, which he did. Mo, one of the other friends, looked at Alex, and Alex asked my boyfriend if he was joking. My boyfriend asked why he would be joking, and Alex told him that I used to hook up with him occasionally for about 5 months 2 years ago. Mo immediately accused my boyfriend of breaking bro code, saying there was no way he didn't know. The other guys chimed in, saying it wasn't breaking bro code because Alex just banged me, and it wasn't serious. My boyfriend was mortified and told them he had no idea Alex had been seeing me. He said I had never mentioned it, even though I'd seen Alex in pictures my boyfriend had shown me or when Alex would snap him. My boyfriend asked Alex why he hadn't recognized me before, from the things my boyfriend had told the guys about me or when he had posted candid pictures of me, like me walking in front of him. Alex said he didn't recognize me because I had changed a lot, which is true. I lost about 50 pounds and wear my hair differently now. My boyfriend said Alex knew oddly specific things about my body, like tattoos that you can't see unless I'm in my underwear, or scars. At this point, I was freaking out because I honestly have no clue how Alex knows these details. My boyfriend said it hurt him to find out this way, but he could have gotten past it because he could understand if I had felt uncomfortable telling him about my past with one of his friends. However, he said he couldn't forgive me for lying straight to his face. I know my boyfriend has trauma regarding lies and dishonesty, which is why I would never lie to him. I told him exactly that, but he didn't believe me, and I can't blame him. Everything Alex told him sounded real. While I'm desperately trying to win my boyfriend back, I'm also freaking out about the fact that Alex knows what I look like naked. My boyfriend told me he doesn't know if he can move on from this. I asked him if he wanted a break, and he just said, "I don't know." I apologized, and now, looking back, I realize he probably thinks that was my way of admitting it. I left his place and broke down crying in my best friend's car again. It's been 2 days, and he hasn't said anything. This uncertainty is killing me. I honestly don't know what to do right now. How do I fix this relationship? Relevant comments. Comment 1. Is your ex trying to find a way out of the relationship because of Alex? Response. My best friend thinks he's lying to find a way out too. She thinks he's realizing things are getting serious with us talking about meeting each other's friends and wants some excuse to break up now, and his friends probably don't even know we're official yet. It just doesn't make sense. He was the one to bring up meeting each other's friends. Also, even though I might sound naive, I feel like he wouldn't lie to me. At least, I hope he wouldn't. I've come to the internet because all my friends and family are telling me to just let him go because he's not worth it. But I honestly feel so heartbroken right now because it's something I had no control over. I've been making all kinds of suggestions to my boyfriend, but he's ignoring me. I just can't believe it's so easy for him to cut me out of his life completely. Comment 2. Your ex should cut Alex out and find a new friend group. Response. I can only hope for my ex that he ends up doing this for himself. However, even though I still have love for him, there is no chance we're ever getting back together, and I think he's realized that too by now. Update. Hey guys, I've read all the comments you left on my last post, so thank you for all the advice. First off, thank you all so much for the comments and advice, even though some of the things you said were hard to read at the time. It really opened my eyes. I want to make it clear, I did not sleep with my ex-boyfriend's friend. I'm not lying. I know everyone I've ever slept with, and he is not one of them. In the days after my initial post, when my ex went completely silent, I had all the time in the world to reflect on our relationship. I started to realize that there were only two possibilities: either my ex was lying to me, or Alex was lying to him. I stopped reaching out to my ex, and I guess it made him suspicious. 3 days after my post, my ex reached out to me via text, asking if we could talk. At this point, I wasn't sad anymore, I was mad. I sent him a text saying that I'm not insane, I know what I have and haven't done, and either Alex is ruining our relationship, or my ex is lying to me. I told him I was done being framed as a bad person when I've done nothing wrong. I also made it clear that there was no going back for me, especially since I realized I'd started to build resentment toward him for sleeping with me right before everything blew up. I told him I wanted to wrap this breakup up as quickly as possible. He read my message and was typing for about 20 minutes before he decided to call me. He was crying and asked if we could meet up. I agreed, but only under the condition that he brought all my stuff because I wasn't playing games anymore. I was staying at my parents' house at the time, so he drove there, still crying when he arrived. Honestly, I just wanted him to drop off my things and leave because I was afraid I'd cave in if he stayed. He asked if he could come inside to explain himself. I asked him what there was to explain, but he insisted I deserved the truth before we ended things completely. I let him in, and we sat down to talk in my room. He started by saying that I'm the woman of his dreams, that he messed up for life, and how empty his life was without me. At this point, I started crying too and asked him to stop and just tell me what was going on. He broke down sobbing so hysterically that I had to tell him to calm down and breathe. He eventually admitted that Alex told him he'd slept with me and that I wasn't wifey material and my ex should break up with me. Alex also told my ex to just ghost me because he didn't know me, any justification, and I didn't deserve closure. My ex, however, wanted me to admit to sleeping with Alex, so he came up with a plan to test me. He lied about Alex knowing about my scars and tattoos to see how I would react and determine if Alex was telling the truth. He said my reaction made him feel like I was lying. My ex also told his friends he was going to break up with me, and Alex freaked out, telling him he shouldn't have told me what Alex said. They argued back and forth until my ex finally asked Alex if he was lying. Alex insisted he wasn't lying but said he didn't want his business out there like that and that he had sworn to me he'd never tell anyone about sleeping with me. At this point, I interrupted my ex and asked if he seriously believed Alex. He said no. That's when he realized Alex was lying. My ex told me he drove to Alex's place to confront him, but Alex's roommates wouldn't let him in because he seemed too upset. So, my ex went to another one of his friends who was there when Alex originally made the claim. According to my ex, he and this friend had a long conversation. The friend told him that Alex had always talked crap about my ex for dating me. For context, I'm black, and my ex and his friends, except for one, are white. Alex would make racist jokes or share memes about black female dogs and how no white guy in his right mind would date a black woman. He also made other disturbing comments that I won't share here. My ex's friends thought it was weird, but they didn't say anything because that's just Alex's humor, racist and sexist jokes, and he was probably just frustrated about being single. My ex told me he now believes Alex did all of this because he's low-key racist and didn't want one of his friends dating outside of their race. I asked him what about this was low-key and how irresponsible it was of him to not warn me and to expose me to people like Alex. He apologized profusely, saying he hadn't really seen it until now, but I find that very hard to believe. I was speechless. My ex lied to me, tested me, and casually hung out with racists. He went on for another 5 minutes about how amazing I am and how he couldn't believe he ruined everything. I finally interrupted him and asked if there was anything else important he needed to tell me or if there was anything left unsaid. He said no and added that he didn't want to be selfish, but all he could ask was for me to consider the possibility of mending our relationship with the help of God. I didn't say anything. I just got up, opened the door, and asked if he had my stuff in his car. He said yes, so we went downstairs, and I took my things. He asked if he could hug me. I told him I didn't know, so he hugged me anyway and told me he was sorry. I went back inside and called my best friend. Since then, my ex has reached out to me about 10 times until I blocked him everywhere. One of his friend's girlfriends also reached out, saying she feels for me and that she'd met Alex and he never said anything like this in front of her. She added that we've all been deceived. I told her that if her intentions were good, she should tell my ex that if he has any respect left for me, he'd make sure neither he nor anyone else in his circle ever contacts me again. As strange as it sounds, finding all of this out made it easier for me to move on. I'm still in shock and I'm still hurt, but I've realized that in the time we were dating, I never really knew who my ex or his friends were. In the past few weeks, I've started to heal and reflect on myself and my attachment style, as some of you suggested. I've realized I've never been single or not dating someone for longer than a month, and I tend to get wrapped up in my emotions very easily. I also tend to fall for people who carry a lot of emotional baggage. I'm working on that now. I'm sorry if you were expecting a dramatic plot twist, like me admitting to sleeping with Alex, but thank you again for all your comments.